I just wanted to let you all know we are recording this webinar because we heard some students can't make it today. There's also several exams going on. And so for those that will miss it, they will have a chance later on to see what to listen to what we've discussed. I see people are still coming in, but I would say people can come in one by one as we are going, and we can start on time because we have a very full program. So welcome everybody to this webinar on academic opportunities for postgraduate students from China to Germany. I'm Michaela. I'm working with the Sino-German Agricultural Center. And at this center, this webinar was organized by the Science and Technology Platform. So our center, the Sino-German Agricultural Center, is a center between both ministries of agriculture. So we have the support and the funding from both agricultural ministries in Germany and China. But underneath our center, we also have a specific science and technology platform that's dedicated to cooperation in science and technology or in the agricultural and food sciences. And you all know Germany and China have had a very long and very fruitful cooperation in agriculture, going back almost 100 years when the first German scholars came to China and then taught at Chinese universities. And then it went on through the 50s. And then in the 1980s, that cooperation was renewed. And there are very long-standing cooperations, for example, between Hohenheim University, one of our most important universities in Germany dealing with agriculture and food. And so there has been a very, very long and very successful cooperation between both countries. And of course, students have played a very important role. Student mobility is very crucial for this. We want to see students go to each other's countries, learn, take home what they've learned, and then they are also very crucial for building long-standing networks. So we know today some people in Chinese ministries that are very important for setting policy, for example, trained at German universities. But because of the pandemic and because of other issues, also geopolitical complications, this kind of cooperation is getting a little bit more complicated. It doesn't seem to so clear anymore for students where they can get funding. Everything is sort of in flux and things are changing. And to address this, we wanted to present this webinar as a kind of overview to provide students from China with an overview on what kind of funding sources are still available, where they can study, and why they should still be interested in going to Germany. And then at the end, we will have a second webinar that will help German students do the same in China. And let me just briefly let in a few people that wanted to come into this webinar as well. They are still logging on. So I'm very glad to see that we have a very interesting group of scholars and researchers from Germany that will provide you a perspective to you as Chinese masters and PhD students, what opportunities there are available in Germany. And we will start, I hope you've all seen the agenda. We will start with an overview by my colleague, Mr. Ahmadjan Rotze, who works here at the Sino-German Agricultural Center at the DCZ. Then we will have two representatives from the DAAD, the German Academic Exchange Service, that will give their overview on the kinds of funding and support they offer to Chinese students going to Germany. Then we have Professor Thorsten Müller from Hohenheim University, one of our top agricultural universities in Germany, explaining what Hohenheim has been doing and what opportunities you could find there as a student, master's or PhD. Afterwards, we will have somebody from a research institute. You will learn about the difference between researching or studying at universities versus research institutes at IAMO. And finally, we will have a professor, Professor Redden from Northwest Agriculture and Forestry University, who used to be a PhD and a postdoc researcher in Germany, is now back in China and will tell you what he brought from his stay in Germany and how that has enabled him to set off his career in China. That's the program for today. Languages will be English in the beginning, and later on, our Chinese colleagues will speak Chinese. So it's a bit of a mixed bag, but I think that would work well for most students. One last thing I wanted to ask you, if you can, please type in your real name and the institution that you belong to. You can change your name. Currently, I see some names like 1 or 123. That's not so useful. We don't really know who we are talking to. So if you find there's a button where you can change your name and affiliation, I would encourage you to change this so that we can see who is the audience, who is actually listening to the presentations that are going to follow now. And so without further ado, I would like to give the word to my colleague Ahmadjan to start off with a kind of overview of the larger landscape, research and funding landscape in Germany.
Hello, Michaela. Hello, everyone. Thank you. Thank you very much. Can I share my screen?
Yes, let me
I
stop
think I
that.
can. Okay, good. I hope you will be able to see my screen. Yes. Okay, good. Hello, everyone. Thank you, Michaela, giving me this opportunity to present and introduce agricultural science landscape in Germany. And I will also get into my experience and so share the basic information about how to get into agricultural programs in Germany. Okay, good. So, oh, oops, sorry, go on. Okay. Here we go. So maybe I just share it from my computer. Okay. Yes, can you see my screen? Okay, good. So first, I will get into why to study in Germany, and then I would explain basically structure of higher education in Germany. And also I will introduce graduate education and research system in Germany. And then I would briefly explain funding sources. And I'm aware that we have also representative from DAAD, German Academic Exchange Center, and they will also explain how the system work. And then finally, I would introduce basic, most well-known agricultural related universities and institutes in Germany. So shortly about me, I also have studied in Germany at the University of Greifswald from 2008 to 11. And at that time, I got a DAD, sustainability fellowship. It was a very good scholarship. I think it's no longer exists, but of course, the AED offers many variety of scholarships. And I did my PhD in KU Eichstätt with the Sumario project. In that case, I had a contract with the German Ministry of Education and Research. So first, why to study in Germany? Number one, the higher education in Germany is free in most states, and students only have to pay 50 to 100 euros semester registration fee. So if we compare to other countries, it's relatively cheap and affordable. And also the German universities have a relatively high ranking in whether in the QS or US World News Report, there are almost 10 universities which are listed in top 100, right? And we also have Germany has a third most Nobel laureates in the world, especially in science fields like physics, medicine, chemistry, and economy, etc. And in Germany, many universities and research institutions are well integrated into industry and companies so that their latest findings can be commercialized and applied very quickly. So that's why there's a lot of job opportunities and also the immigration opportunities after you are done with your studies. So, of course, you can also learn about German culture from philosophy to music to food and everything else. Okay, so structure of higher education in Germany. In Germany, we have like full university and then University of Applied Science and universities dedicated to art and film and music, but dual Hochschulen and state-funded and private universities. But also there are government sponsored or affiliated research institutions like Max Planck, Leibniz, Helmholtz, Fraunhofer, Thunen, JKI. They also do a lot of research, but also they do PhD or master student training. Usually they offer these degrees with jointly with the neighboring universities in their cities or towns. So several quick facts about higher education in Germany. There are more than 430 institutes which are eligible to award doctorate degrees. And then there are 157,000 staff in research and development, including 121 researchers. Then there are more than 63,000 international academic staff, around 4,000 professors. So the academic world in Germany is very welcoming, international, and very diverse. So there are opportunities to stay and develop your career. So there are more than 48,000 international doctoral candidates enrolled. I used to remember China was the largest group. Maybe now it's more India. So there's a lot of students from China, India, Poland, Eastern Europe, and all over Europe and all over the world. So then we also have non-university government research institutions. There are many of them. We divided into four big categories or four big famous ones. First one is Leibniz Association. The Leibniz Association. Uh, we have 97 associations with for different subjects and disciplines. In our case, we collaborate a lot with Leibniz Institute for Transition Economies, or in short is IAMO, based in Leipzig and Halle. And then we also have Max Planck Institute, which has 85 affiliated the smaller institutes. And then Helmholtz has 18. Fraunhofer, one of the very famous applied research institutes, it has 76. Okay, so there are 44 federal research institutions, 139 state research institutions. In Germany, we know it's a federal republic, so there are the federal government, like different ministries, have their own affiliated institutes, but also states also have their institutions. And then we have 10 academies of science and humanities, so it's a very uh, big group. So Innovation in Germany. Germany ranked an eighth in the world and one of the strong innovators in Europe. So R&D investment is quite high. It's 3.1% of GDP. And there are more than 28,000 companies who invested in research and development. So there are many startups, and a lot of them collaborate with higher educational institutions. And there are many the regional innovation and educational clusters. So graduate education and research in Germany. In this case, I would integrate that with my own experience. So usually in graduate programs in Germany, I would mostly talk about master's programs and PhD. And I think there are not many Chinese who are going to study bachelor's. In that case, it's a different system. So today we are going to stick to graduate programs. So in graduate program, in master's program, generally it's a structured program. So you have to study uh, usually 2 to 3 semesters, and then you have to write your thesis. So in most of these programs are offered in German language, so you have to qualify German language requirement. But now many universities are offering also international programs in English. In that case, you don't need a German language proficiency, then you directly study subjects in English, which I did. And then PhD usually has a two-track. One is structured PhD, similar to master's program. They have their own requirements, language and application, etc. So you have to study 1 year, and then you develop your own thesis, and then under the supervision of your supervisor, you complete your PhD thesis or project. The second one is contract-based researcher, which I did. So in that case, usually you are offered a contract by the project, and then you fulfill the requirement of the project, but also you complete your studies and earned your degrees. So in structured programs, so there's a language requirement. If you want to study in German, you have to pass tests. DAF is a German language proficiency test, level 2 or 3, or some cases they don't require a standardized test, just C1 level language certificate. But if you want to study English international programs, usually you have to pass either TOEFL or IELTS tests. So both are valid. So you just need to take one, and then they will accept it. Then you also have to submit your college transcript, motivation letter, recommendation letter, research plan in the case of PhD. Usually you don't have to provide for master's. And then also at the same time, in most structured programs, you have to make applications for fundings. And most structured programs have very strict deadlines. So now contract-based research position, especially for PhD. So it's based on specific projects, usually advertised on websites or university websites, etc. Of course, they also have language requirement, but most of the time, for international project, English is enough. Then your project leader or supervisor probably conduct interview to assess your qualification, and you might need to submit research plan. And usually they are funded by different German funding agencies. Most of them are government affiliated, but some cases private foundations also offer projects. So the advantages of contract-based research is usually, so you are employed as a scientist. In German is Wissenschaft Mitarbeiter or Arbeiter. So that means you pay German social system like taxes, health insurance, and pension, unemployment insurance, etc. This would really help if you want to stay in Germany for a longer period, like obtaining green card or long-term residency permits, because you are already like a taxpayer in Germany. In my case, I use that to earn a long-term residency. So this is one advantage of the system. So now let's talk about funding sources. So first one, DAD, and I know we have a DAD representative, and then they will get into it. So I will get to the next one is DFG. DFG is equivalent to our Chinese National Natural Science Foundation. So it's one of the biggest scientific research funding agency, which is supported by government, and they have quite a big budget of 4 billion euros, and they annually award 32,000 projects, and it's very well regarded in Germany. So they also have offices in Bonn and Berlin. They used to have an office in Beijing also, but I was told it's no longer, at least there is no staff at the moment. So they award grants for all discipline, including agriculture, environmental science, and related fields. So, okay, and then we also have international Max Planck research schools. They also award PhD. Usually duration is around 3 years, possible of extension for another year. So usually they have work contract. And Helmholtz, they have young investigator groups. They have postdoc, early career researcher programs, and they have 5-year contract, option of permanent position. Minimum, usually the funding is minimum of $300,000 for PAs, including expenses, material supplies, investment, work contract, etc. Then we have Leibniz associations. They have variety of programs for female professors and also for established researchers. Usually 5-year contract, possible to extend it, and usually they have funding up to 1.7 million euros to fund professorship personnel and equipment. So we also have other funding sources, like for master's students, we have Erasmus scholarships, we have Volkswagen Foundation scholarships, and we also have German political party or charity affiliated scholarships. So you have to search and get to know them and apply. Usually it's not so difficult. And then we have contract-based research positions. And for Chinese students, we also have a China-based funding, like China Scholarship Council usually offer scholarship for master students, PhD, and also postdoc and the research scholars. But you have to check with your host institute whether they recognize or they're okay with the China Scholarship Council funding. Okay, so for basic research, so to know where to get what kind of program, the AD has a very good website. So, and then you enter, for example, if you want to search for international programs, which means subjects are taught in English, you can choose the language. You can also choose the degree level, master's or PhD, and then the subject, and you have the full list and their website, etc. For example, in my case, I checked for master's degree and PhD degree for agriculture related science. There was more than 71 results. So recently, my colleague Michaela also told me about DAFA, which is German Agri Research Alliance. And I think this organization is based in Braunschweig. They include many universities, 12 full universities, like very famous ones like Hohenheim, one of the most famous university for agricultural science and research, and Free University of Berlin, Humboldt University, etc. And then 7 Leibniz research institutes like ATB, like agricultural engineering, IAMO, transition economies. So this IAMO is particularly very important because we have very deep and long partnerships. So And also there are seven federal institutes, seven universities of applied science, and 19 state-based research institutions. So they include all these clusters of universities and institutions, bring them together under one umbrella so they can facilitate exchange and dialogue. So, and this is from their website. So all these universities and institutes, based on their survey, most of them get their funding either from federal government, German federal government, or DFG, and some cases in EU. Usually, German federal government supports research on food, agriculture, consumer protection, and bioeconomy, climate, environment, sustainability. DFG supports mostly agriculture, forestry, veterinary science. So DFG is much more hard science based, and federal government supports more applied science-based research. And then there are also projects supported by EU, whether it's on food or bioeconomy, natural resources, agriculture, and environment. So, so and a lot of these fundings goes to either to universities or these institutes, which is affiliated by federal government or state government like Max Planck, Leibniz, and Fraunhofer, etc. So these are the topics they cover, from agri-food value chain to digital agriculture to the new breeding techniques, etc. So in 2020, at the Sino-German Agriculture Center, we commissioned studies on research and scientific collaboration between China and Germany on agriculture. Our expert at that time, Dr. Rita Merkel, conducted a survey of the most known German universities and also research institute with their past or ongoing collaboration with China on agriculture. So a lot of names came up, and this study is very interesting. You can go to our website and download the study to understand the situation between China and Germany on agricultural science cooperation. So they have listed like Hohenheim and IAMO, ITB, all these names came up during these studies. And yeah, so my presentation is over. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Ahmadjan. I think that was a very good and a good overview. You could really see how the system works and see the whole agricultural landscape. So even I found this very useful, and maybe for the students, it is also useful to know that we will share the presentations later on. Um, the way we planned it is that we would now like to ask our colleagues from DAAD to talk a bit more specifically about how the DAAD can fund postgraduate students from China and Germany. And here we have two speakers. At first, Ms. Ole Engelhardt, who is the China head of the DAAD office in China, will briefly give an introduction in English, and then his colleague, Ms. Rendier, will continue in Chinese. So thanks a lot for joining us today. And Ole, please, you have the floor.
Okay. Yeah, thanks. Thanks a lot. I hope you can hear me. Thanks a lot for the invitation. Happy to be here and talk a bit about our program. I think the DAAD in general is everybody knows about it, and we just also heard a lot about the DAAD already. So I will keep it short. Just in general, I think it's a very good time for that we are invited this week, because this week our headquarter released its annual report called Wissenschaft Weltoffen. I think there's no official English name, but it should be something like Globally Open Science. And maybe I can share the link later. And in this one, this report, we found that the number of international students increased in Germany increased again this year. Now it's more than 400,000 international students. That's a plus of, I think, 6% compared to last year. More than 100,000 of these are new enrolled students, including also PhD students, so students and PhD students. And what is like we also heard about this already. The biggest group is actually from the region Asia Pacific. So it's not China anymore, as it was for many years. Now it's India, but China is still a good number two, far yeah, in front of the number three and four places with almost 40,000 students still. And also, which is good news, I think, is the number of English-speaking master and bachelor, but especially master degrees is increasing a lot. Now there's almost 2,500 programs you can study in English. I think around 2,000 of those on a master level. Yeah, so that's, I think, all good news for international students. Now, in our case, Chinese students who want to come to Germany. Yeah, I think we don't have so much time, so I think I'll skip introduction of DAD China. I think if someone is interested, they can always reach out to us. I think because we don't have so much time, I would now already pass to my colleague, Ms. Renze, for now it's the more detailed presentation of what kinds of scholarships we do offer for Chinese to Germany.
Okay, hello everyone. I hope you can hear me and see my PowerPoints. And okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ren Jie, and I'm working with Mr. Anha together at the DAD Beijing office, and I'm in charge of the research in marketing.
Hello, Miss Ren. Hello, are you still there?
Maybe
I
the
think you
connection
froze.
is
Hmm.
good. I will check. She's in next door to me. So I'll quickly check.
Hmm. Yeah, I think you're still frozen. Hmm. Sorry, everyone. This should usually work. The DAAD is very experienced in giving presentations on Zoom. I'm not quite sure what the issue is. I would say we'll give it a very brief moment to see. If it's not working out, I would suggest we change the order of the presentations, and then we would ask Mr. Professor Müller. But let's wait for 1 or 2 minutes to see if we can fix that. Mm.
Yeah, she's still trying to get in. I know it's some internet problem.
Okay, yeah,
Otherwise, if she could do it from my spot, but I don't have the presentation here, so if that, then it would
yeah.
be without a PPT, if that would be an option, or
Mm, Otherwise, I was thinking about switching.
okay,
If you're
yeah,
okay with that, we could also
yeah,
ask Professor Müller to
yeah,
do his part, and then you come in later.
yeah, yeah. Maybe that's
Yeah.
that's yeah.
Oh, there she is. Okay, maybe now.
Okay, nice.
Hello, Miss Ren.
Hmm.
Oh no, it's not really
Maybe
working.
maybe we do like this. Maybe first
Okay,
we switch
Professor
to.
Müller, could I ask you to jump in and save us?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Okay, so my apologies to everyone for this little glitch. Technology is always hard to master. We will now switch to Professor Thorsten Müller from the University of Hohenheim, Faculty of Agricultural Sciences. And afterwards, we will go back to DAAD if that's fine with everyone. So welcome, Professor Müller. The stage is yours. We heard a lot about Hohenheim already and are excited to hear what you have to tell us today.
Yes. Good morning and good afternoon. I am going to share my screen. I hope it works. So, can you see my screen now?
Give it a second, it's coming up, I think. Yeah, there it is.
Can you see my presentation now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not full screen yet, but maybe now it's full screen. Yeah, perfect.
And you can also see my pointer?
Yes, and your pointer.
Yes.
Great.
Yeah, so welcome everybody. I would like to inform you a little bit about postgraduate programs at the University of Hohenheim. Uh, Before I start, maybe shortly who I am. My name is Thorsten Müller. I'm professor for fertilization and soil meta-dynamics. The reason why I am here is probably because I am the German spokesperson of our large Sino-German research training group, AMAZE-P, which is a collaboration between the University of Hohenheim and the China Agricultural University. I have to mention that we have a very long-lasting cooperation between these two universities. The cooperation is now about 45 years old, and this large research training group is the core project at the moment. And the other reason is probably because I was a dean of study for several years, so I have a well insight into the programs that we offer here. I would start with a few information about the Faculty of Agricultural Sciences. Of course, we have a mission in our faculty, and our mission is at one point to protect biodiversity. It's an important issue at the moment, very closely connected to agricultural production. We would like to protect consumers, the environment, and animal welfare by at the same time having the development of a sustainable production technique in agriculture and food production. So a combination of intensification and sustainability. We have a vision. The vision of the faculty is that science is a global agricultural system which is productive, environmental friendly, and socially minded, and which is in harmony with society's demands for multi-purpose orientation. What are the strengths of our Faculty of Agricultural Sciences? Uh, we have a very broad education at the largest agricultural faculty in Germany. So from all the 10 university agricultural faculties in Germany, we are the largest one. And therefore also our educational programs are very broad, as you will see. We have a lot of global cooperation in research and education, particularly with China. As I said, it's actually the oldest Sino-German university partnership that exists. So it's very strong cooperation also with China. We have intensive, of course, third-party funding and research. In the talk before, you heard about these possibilities, and we are, of course, intensively using that. We pioneer in plant breeding. We have a very large agricultural engineering department, also the largest in Germany at agricultural faculties. And we have the most beautiful campus in Germany, as we think. Just two pictures. You see the main building of our campus is actually the Palace of Hohenheim, where our Duke used to live some 100 years ago. And you see the palace is placed in the countryside, actually. Behind the palace, you can see experimental fields, and in front of the palace, you can see a part of the park of the palace with the vineyard of the palace here. And here we have a picture from the park, and it's a beautiful area. So when you study here and you have a break, you can easily walk into the park. You can easily reach the experimental station, both for plant production, but also for animal, or you can have a glass of wine from our vineyard. What are the main research foci? As I said, sustainability and biodiversity are very much in focus, but at the same time also a high production level to make food security sure, but not only food security, but also bioeconomy, so the use of agricultural products for other purposes, for example, for fiber, for bioenergy, and for biomass. Society and transformation. Agriculture is somehow related to the society. That's a very important issue for us. And finally, we want to strengthen agri-food systems in the ecosystems that they are going to work. So what programs do we have? Let me begin with the master programs at the Faculty of Agriculture at the University of Hohenheim. Of course, we have quite a few in German. That is the core, so to say. But as you can see, we have a wide offer of master programs in English because we have so many professorships and we are the largest faculty. And within agricultural sciences, for example, we have majors in advisory innovation services, agricultural economy, which is called AgEcon. Please remember this abbreviation. I will come to that a bit later again. Of course, animal science, livestock, transformation management, and then we have separate majors in tropics and subtropics, in bioeconomy, that is this issue of using agricultural products to something else than only food. Of course, crop science as the partner of animal science. We have environmental sciences with a more focus on ecological issues. Another one here, environmental protection and agricultural food production, which relates that more intensive to each other. Then we have organic agriculture as a focus and landscape ecology. So I think there's a wide range of majors of master programs that could be of interest for you. Also, you can group the master programs by the grade of specialization. There are very specialized master programs, as I said before, particularly the specializations in the agricultural science master or crop science or landscape ecology. But we have also interdisciplinary masters where you go in the broad range of scientific discipline, and the depth in this master programs is not in the single subject, it is in the overview, in the total view of a whole area, as you can see. And there are also quite a lot of master programs, agribusiness, for example, the tropical programs and the ecological ones, and our organic agricultural programs. So they are relatively interdisciplinary, and you will learn a lot from plant science, from animal science, from economy, from ecology, and even social science and economy. The structure of our master program is very the same for all the master programs. Usually it's 4 semesters. You have 3 semesters where you earn credits, 90 credits by taking part in lectures, in seminars, in exercises, in excursions, and so on. And then in the 4th semester, you earn another 30 credits by writing your master thesis in cooperation with one of our research institutes, often in cooperation with a research program. Of course, there are some admission requirements. The first of all, you need an above average bachelor's degree in agriculture or natural science or economics or in a related discipline. And above average means that you are a member of the upper 50% of your own cohort in your study program. So often when you apply, you will be asked to deliver the final mark that you got, and our Department for Foreign Affairs will convert it into the German system. Or you will also be asked to give a ranking that we can see in which cohort, which part of the cohort, of your cohort you are. In the talk before, it was said already, you need a good knowledge in either English or German. So a high TOEFL or IELTS level, or if it is German, Test DAF or the C1 level, which is quite high. Of course, we hope that you are motivated, you are open, inquisitiveness should be there, and you should be curious to learn new things, of course. Our programs start normally in the winter term, that means in mid of October, and that's very important here. The application deadline is usually the 15th of March. So if you want to apply for the upcoming October in 2026, you should apply before the 15th of March in 2026. For more information, we also have a website here. If you cannot write it down so quickly, of course, you can also Google it, or you go just in our website www.uni-hohenheim.de, and you can easily find it there. What about the costs? Also, that was stressed before. Actually, at the Baden-Württemberg, in our state, the universities, it is so that non-EU students have to pay a tuition fee of 1,500 euro per semester. So that is quite a bit of money, but it is still much less than you pay in most of the other countries. There's one little exception. If you should hold a DAAD scholarship for the Econ Master Program, you remember that I mentioned this abbreviation, then you are exempted. That's a special contract with DAAD. In addition to that, there is a semester fee that is only 175 euro, but this is also very nice because that includes public traffic and some benefits that you can use, so it's worth the money. And then the question is, how much money do you need for living? And it's about, I would say, 950 euro. That is what in Germany is normal. A bit special in the surrounding of our university is that the housing prices are relatively high. But I would say still 950 euro should be enough. My daughter also is a student at the moment, and she receives from her parents 950 euros per month, and that seems to be enough so far. Yeah. There's an alternative. You come only for a short-term stay. So this is for a whole study program. But if you should only come for a semester or two, the tuition fee is the same. You would have to pay the 1,500 euro per semester. But there is actually an exception. If you come from the China agricultural universities, you are continuing to pay at the China agricultural universities while you stay at the University of Hohenheim. This is because we have this long-lasting cooperation, and we have a very good cooperation contract, of course, and we are very happy to receive students from the CAU and the other way around in the same way. So that should be exempted. Again, you need the registration fee for the semester and the cost of living per month. So if that is clear, then it should be possible for you to take part. Please explore our homepage to find the application sites. And if you have any questions, there are coordinators here which are looking forward to be contacted by you, and they can also help you to in your application process, and they can also help you to produce the necessary documents. So this is the master, and now let's have a little look at the doctorate, at the, you would say, PhD programs at our faculty. It was a bit explained in the first lecture already today. There are actually two types of doctorates. You could have an individual doctorate, or you could take part in a structured doctoral study program. It is still so that the individual doctorate is the most common model in Germany. Also at our university, it is still possible. Then you are affiliated to an institute. You have no additional structured qualification measures. But of course, you take part, for example, in the seminars of the institutes, in all the discussion in the institutes if they make an excursion. So you are more or less taking part in the activity of the institute or of the research group that you are affiliated affiliated to. The degree you receive is the D. Doctor SCAGR. It's Latin Doctor Scientiarum Agrarium, so the Doctor of Agriculture. The alternative is to maybe in addition to the individual doctorate take part in a structured doctoral study program. And there are actually two possibilities. We have a general Hohenheim Graduate School of Life Science. If you take part in this graduate school, you will have a research-oriented additional qualification program completed in the form of modules. So you obtain credits here. That leads to the fact that beside your certificate as a doctor, you will receive a second certificate that you took part in this extended qualification program. And then you can actually choose to receive, as in the individual doctorate, the Dr. SC Egger, or you can also ask for receiving the PhD. This is often done by international students who would like to have a doctor degree that is internationally better known than our German Dr. SC AGR. So here you can actually choose. The other possibility is to take part in a research training group. And as you learned from my person, I am the German spokesperson of such a research training group. That is a Sino-German international research training group that is going for 9 years. And we are actually at the moment in the third cohort of doctoral researchers, of PhD students. And when you take part in such a training group, then you also have, of course, an educational program where the topic is more focused on the issue of this research training group. In our case, it is phosphorus in maize-based cropping systems. And the degree here is also the Doctor of Agriculture that you receive. Yeah, what is required? Also here, you do not need a bachelor, you need a master degree, and this must also be, again, an above average master degree. I explained already for the bachelor what that means. It's the same here for the master, and that will be checked by our Office of International Affairs. And then our doctorate commission can accept you as a doctoral researcher or PhD student. Also here we have the proficiency in English or German that must be available from your side. And it might happen if something is not 100% comparable with our own system, then it might be that you are accepted as a PhD student, but with additional requirement. It might be that the commission says, you are accepted, but you have to take part in some specific courses or in courses of a specific master module to come up to the level that we are looking for. What about the costs? Again, we have the living costs here. I would say 950 euro per month. As I said before, for my daughter, it's enough per month. For you, it should also be enough. And that can be obtained by different possibilities. The one would be, of course, a scholarship, either a Chinese or a German one, for example, a DAAD scholarship. I hope we hear a little bit more about that then in addition, or by an employment. You heard in the lecture before, this is the contract-based way. And here, if you are employed as a scientific assistant, you would usually be employed on a 50 to 65% position. So you would earn 50 to 65% of the money that you would earn if you would be a full scientific assistant, for example, a postdoc or a scientist. And that is enough. That is more than 950 euro per month. And as it was said before, in addition, you are a part of the German social system. So the contract is, from my opinion, the better choice. But still, there are many coming by scholarship. Then you have to pay the semester fee in case you take part in a structured program. But I was just informed, sorry, actually it's a mistake here. This I forgot to delete that. For the doctoral researchers, this must be deleted. They do not pay the semester fee only if they take part in a structured program of our graduate school. Then, of course, you have to pay the semester fee as a student, but you gain also all the benefits like public transfer and so. And then we have the third thing that comes into addition of that, what comes for the master programs, that is a bench fee, because you would like to do some research here. And research is expensive. It's not only the costs for your living, for your stay in Germany, it's actually to finance your research. And the costs for research, they might be negligible in low budget economy and social science, but in most research projects, they even exceed the costs for living by orders of magnitude. And this is particularly the case in all experimental sciences, that mean natural and engineering science, but also in economic and social science. If you are doing large field studies or you need a cost-intensive data acquisition and so on. So this is a little bit the problem with the scholarships, because the scholarships also from DAAD, they normally come without a bench fee. So where to generate the research money, and this of course has consequences. So we can say most of the doctoral researchers here, they have an employment as a scientific assistant, and they are employed on a fully funded research project. It was explained before which funding agencies can give money for these research projects. It is actually, so this is the contract-based version. It's actually so that for you, of course, it's difficult to acquire such a project. So you would have a look whether any of the professors in Germany at the University of Hohenheim has a project where somebody is missing, and the person missing is the PhD student maybe, and you can apply for that position. In case you have a scholarship, for example, a Chinese scholarship, you would probably need to find a professor who can associate you to a fully funded research project that then, in addition to the employed doctoral researcher, maybe you can in addition come with a scholarship. I can tell you, I get tons of emails from foreign students who are interested to apply for a DAAD or Humboldt scholarship and ask me to help them. Unfortunately, I must say I must reject nearly all of them, because we always need a funded research project. So how can you continue? What could be the first step if you are interested to become a doctoral researcher? Oh, the first step is you need to find a supervisor at the University of Hohenheim. So you could explore the homepage, you could find your area of interest and see who are the professors in that area of interest in Hohenheim. Then you may directly contact this professor at the University of Hohenheim and simply ask whether there is an open position for doctoral researcher that you could apply for, or you simply check in the advertisements for doctoral researchers from our University of Hohenheim, where all open jobs are advertised. In case you should already have a scholarship, for example, a Chinese scholarship, then you should go the same way and then maybe directly ask a professor whether there is some opportunity to take part in one of his or her projects to fulfill your, or to finish, or to do your PhD project. So money is an important fact, and I'm very happy that it was explained before that there are two possibilities, the contract base or scholarship. As I said before, I would always suggest to go for a contract base if that is possible. Yeah, by this, I would say thank you very much for your attention. And this is a last view on our very nice Palace of Hohenheim. And the rector, our president, he has his office here and the administration. But interestingly, in the other rooms of the palace, there are also institutes. So in case, for example, you should be interested in soil science, then you would work in a side building of the palace. But there are many other buildings in the surrounding. We are so-called campus university. So we meet each other every day at the campus, and you can reach all the parts of the campus by walking distance.
Thanks so much, Professor Müller. It must feel very regal to study at your university. It's such a nice environment with all the nice palaces. Thanks a lot for this very interesting overview. I think that was also probably very insightful for the students to really understand the structures and the funding issues, contract-based versus structured PhD. I would pause a second here and ask our students that are logged on, does anybody venture to ask a question? I know it would have to be in English now, so I may imagine that not everybody is right up for the challenge, but this would be your chance if you have a follow-up question to what Professor Müller just said. Please open your camera and your microphone and ask. Yeah, maybe it's a bit of a challenge to do that on a Zoom meeting.
I saw on the program that there's also question and answers at 10:20 maybe.
If you stay with us, Professor Müller, we could ask Ms. Wren to talk a little bit about DIAD, and then maybe some further questions come up a bit later in the program. That's what I would suggest.
Yeah, I can stay a bit longer.
Okay, thanks so much.
Let me know when I can leave.
Okay, yeah, I will.
Okay.
All right. So then, Ms. Wren, let's give it
Hello.
another try. And thanks, Professor Müller.
First, I would say I'm terribly sorry about the internet problem I have just had. Okay, and let me try this time and hope it will be okay. And just wait a minute, and I'm sharing my screen. Can you see my screen?
We can see it, but we see the wrong screen. We see your screen. We are not seeing the large. You have to switch the screens.
Okay, I'll try. Just wait a minute, okay? Screen share.
That you actually can do it in the presentation. There is a little bottom in the.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Is
fine.
it all right now? Okay, okay. Thank you. Okay, and again, and I'm so happy to have this chance to introduce the DAD scholarship programs to you. And my name is Ren Jie, and I'm working with Mr. Engelhardt together at the DAD Beijing office, and I'm in charge of the research marketing and scholarship programs of Chinese. And to ensure clarity, and I've chosen to present my part in Chinese. I hope this will be informative for you. So, okay. 大家下午好，我今天利用这个时间呢，给大家介绍一下，我们 DAD 的奖学金项目啊。大家现在在这一页呢，能够看到的是我的一个，其实是一个截图啊。这个是我们 DAD 今年刚刚更新的，就是我们 DAD 的一些面对中国学生学者的一个奖学金项目的一个目录啊。它是我们有一个纸质版的一个小册子啊。这个小册子的话呢，大家可以通过我这个 PPT 的右上角有一个二维码，大家扫描二维码的话是可以获取我们这个小册子的一个电子版。然后大家现在在这一页上可以看到我们的一个项目的一个概要哈。然后这个是我们面向中国学生学者的一些主要的项目。下面呢，我会对这些项目进行一个介绍。 好，首先的一个我们 DAD 的一个项目呢，是一个短期项目，这是一个DAD 德国高校暑期班奖学金啊，它面向的是国内的本科及硕士的在读的学生，但是就是这个项目可以资助咱们同学们到德国进行一个 summer school 的一个学习，然后呢，它的金额是450欧元，然后另外再加上 DAD 会支付相关的这个属校的一个这个相关的课程费用哈，另外再加上国际的差旅的费用，然后在德国的时间差不多是这个2周左右的一个2到3周的这样的一个时间，然后每年的申请的时间呢是从9月到10月份。好，所有的这个课程，如果大家想了解更多的信息，都可以扫描我这个 PPT 右上方的这个二维码，然后去了解更多的信息。好，下面一个项目是我们一个进修课程奖学金，通过这个奖学金的话呢，可以考虑到德国去进行一个硕士或者是博士的学习，但是它只是面向特定的专业和课程开放的。这个咱们同学们感兴趣的话呢，也是可以去了解一下，因为它是我们为数不多的可能会包含硕士阶段资助的一个奖学金项目哈。但是就像我所说的啊，它就是不是说针对于所有专业都开放，而且需要有2年的工作经验。好，下面一个项目呢，也是我们比较受欢迎的一个短期项目，叫做硕士短期奖学金。这个呢，目前是将近900多欧元，就将近1000欧元的这样一个资助额度啊。这个费用是可以包含大家在德国的这个生活的费用的。资助的时间呢是1到3个月，面向的是国内的这个硕士在读的学生开放的。好，另外我们还有一个面向于国内的这个博士在读学生的一个科研交流奖学金，或者是博士后也是可以申请哈。这个项目就是如果对于博士生来讲的话，可以通过这个项目申请到德国去进行2个月到1年的这样的一个交流访问。如果是博士后的话呢，是1到6个月。也就是说，这个项目要求我们同学们在这个接受资助的时候的身份啊是国内高校的博士的在读学生或者博士后啊，那么然后可以在这个博士或者博士后期间到德国进行一个学术访问，就是这样的一个性质。然后我们也是这个项目每年是有2次的申请，这个时间具体的话大家也是可以扫描二维码看详细的信息。然后另外我们还有一个可以资助到德国攻读博士学位的一个项目啊，这个项目就是跟 CIC 的那个项目其实是比较像的，只不过 CIC 那个项目呢是由中国政府资助的，然后我们这个项目呢是由德国政府资助的。这个项目就是博士科研奖学金，然后呢最长资助的时间呢是4年，每个月的资助金额是1400欧元，另外加上保检还有国际差旅费，然后另外这个项目还包含了就是在德国的语言学校的这个德语培训啊，这个金额的话呢是跟 CIC 差不多的，但是我们 DAD 这个项目是没有相关的回国服务期的这样的一个要求。那今年的申请呢是已经截止了，就是10月份，所以如果咱们同学们对这个项目感兴趣的话呢，可以先提前了解一下，然后呢下一次申请的时间是在明年的10月中旬左右。好，另外我们还和中国科学院啊，然后有一个联合奖学金，就是可以资助就是 CAS 旗下的所有研究所的同学们，然后去到德国，在博士在读期间到德国去进行最长22个月的这样的一个学术交流。然后我们面向学生，面向学者，另外还有一个 DAD 王宽成奖学金，这个是我们 DAD 和王宽成基金会所联合进行的一个这个学者资助项目啊，要求是农业，大家可以看农业专业的这个研究人员或者博士后也是可以申请的啊，这个是申请时间的话是在4月份或者10月份，资助金额是每个月2100欧元。好的，就是我还可以给大家推荐一个网站啊，这个是我们 DAD 搭建的一个奖学金数据库啊，它不仅包含了 DAD 的奖学金项目，还包含其他德国基金会的奖学金，这个就是 Funding Guide，然后.de 啊，大家就是可以去上面搜索一下啊，看看有没有其他适合自己的项目，也可以考虑进行申请。然后刚才也有一些德国的同事，他们分享了一些网站啊，在这我也可以再给大家推荐一下，有一个网站叫做 PhD Germany，因为刚才有的老师也讲到了一些 PhD position 啊，大家可以通过这个网站去查找一下，看看有没有适合自己的啊，就是一些可能是一些这个带工资的博士的岗位，或者是一些带有奖学金的一些博士项目，都有可能会在这个网站当中出现，大家可以看一下有没有适合自己专业领域的项目。 另外大家还给大家推荐一下，就是有一些关于我们在德国进行研究的话比较常用的一些网站啊，这个比如说第一个就是 researchingermany.org，这个是我们赴德研究的一个官网。然后呃，包括这个德国研究机构搜索引擎就是3w.gerit.org啊，这个也是可以去搜索。比如说大家可以搜索在那个农业领域里面有哪些德国的机构在进行，就是可以进行相关的有这样的相关的这个研究的这个小组的设置，所以咱们同学们可以如果对德国留学感兴趣的话呢，充分利用好这些网站给我们提供的信息。好，然后我也推荐大家可以关注一下我们的微信公众号，叫做“富德研究”，这个是我们的官方的信息平台，会定期的给大家推送关于德国的一些最新的研究动向，还有包括我们的一些活动信息，以及奖学金申请的一些情况。好的，这个是我的这个个人邮箱research.beijing@dd.de大家呢，后续就是今后如果有什么问题的话呢，也是可以通过这个邮箱再跟我进行联系。当然了，如果今天针对于我这部分的介绍，如果有什么问题的话呢，也欢迎大家提出来。Okay, that's the end of my part.
Yeah. Thank you, Ms. Ren.
Mhm.
Would you also be able to share the slides after this meeting?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay.
Okay, I want to put the question to the students again. If you have any questions to either my colleague Ms. Rotze, to Ms. Ren, or also Professor Müller, you can also type them in the chat, or you can also, of course, write to us later and we would pass that on if it feels too much pressure now to speak in English in front of everybody. Maybe too much pressure. I'm not sure. All right. Okay, then I would say thank you to the speakers so far. I think we've heard already quite a bit. We got an overview of what is happening in agriculture, about the landscape in general. We've heard about funding opportunities from one of the biggest funding organizations we have in Germany, and we've heard about what you need to do if you want to study at a university. And now, of course, my colleague mentioned it, my colleague Ahmadjan mentioned it, there are not only universities, but there are also research institutes in Germany. And there you can also come and study and do your PhD and do a research exchange. And for this, we have our colleague uh, Jerry Sunjanli from IAMO. It's the Leibniz Institute of Agricultural Development in Transition Economies, the institute with the longest name, I believe there is. And our colleague Jerry Sun will now speak to you as well in Chinese and explain to you what you get as a student if you come to a German research institute, what kind of standards you have to meet, and what kind of opportunities there are. So thank you, Jerry, and the stage is yours. And thanks to the other speakers for their contributions so far.
Thanks, Michaela, for the introduction, and I'm glad to be here. Okay, and I need to speak Chinese. OK， 大家下午好Michaela 也讲了，我们今天邀请了不仅是来自于大学的单位，也是就是我代表了就是非大学研究机构的一些可能的机会。那么这个报告呢，就是来讲一下在研究所德国研究所的一些深造机会，还有我也讲了一些那个关于一些申请的经验吧。啊，这个德国大学呢，德国的研究机构呢，其实除了研究所，除了这个高等院校，比如说我们刚才穆勒教授在霍恩海姆大学，还有著名的一些大学，比如说侯茂大学，慕尼黑工大这些大学，它是既担任教学，也有这些科研任务。当然还有一些工业界的研发，这个呢，一般对于我们来说呢，对我们学生来说可能不是很适合，所以这个一般情况下不会是培养 学生的。在另外一部分呢，就是这种非高校的研究机构啊，这是我这次讲座的一个重点啊。这些非高校的研究机构呢，包括我们的本身的研究所啊，这些研究所的这个特点呢，就是说它呃专注于科研，那么教学呢不多啊，所有的学位呢是不直接颁发的，也是要由合作的大学来颁发。比如说我们研究所呢，它的博士学位会一般来情况下呢会由哈勒大学来颁发。这个也是取决于你合作的导师，比如说我们研究所的 Daniel Mueller 教授呢，他就是在洪堡大学任职。那么如果你跟他做这个博士的话，那你将从洪堡大学取得博士学位。嗯。一般情况下，这些研究机构呢，就是科研环境呢比较好，有比较好的这个设施，而且工资待遇条件呢是相对比较好的。当然，对于这个硕士生来说呢，可能有一点不太适合的，就是说它没有系统的课程设置。硕士呢基本上没有或者很少来招生，基本上都是做博士。在在有的情况下呢，我们也会招这种访问的硕士，但是这种情况呢非常少。研究所另外一个好处呢，就是没有学费，就是没有 tuition fee 啊，这个是个优势吧。当然呢，就是说，呃，如果是你想享受周边的，比如说交通的一些好处的话，你也是可以在大学注册，交一些这个学杂费啊，不是学费，是个杂费，相当于是。嗯。德国的研究所呢，基本呢有四大体系啊，四大天王啊，我叫他们四大天王啊，四大天王是马普啊，这个马普是最有名的，就是马普学会，就是全名是马克思普朗克学会啊，一般我们中国人一般叫它马普学会啊，或者马普所啊，很多的学生去马普所读博士了，就是马普啊，他是一个著名物理学家命名的啊，Max Planck。然后还有另外一个是Helmholtz 啊，汉姆霍兹联合会，这就是 Fraunhofer。我所做的这个在的研究所 YAMO 呢，属于莱布尼兹研究所，它们之间的区别和联系呢，我大概做了一个表，大概是个这样的情况。就马普呢，主要是做基础研究它有就是在近50年里边儿有超过20多个诺贝尔获奖者啊。呃，这个 Helmholtz 呢是属于体量比较大啊，呃，就解决国家重大的挑战问题。Fraunhofer 呢是另外一个研究协会呢，它是注重于这个工业方面的研究啊。这个呢，其实啊，就是做博士也是有的，但是相对比较少一些。啊，莱布尼茨就是非常多，就是比较多样化这个主题，而且就是有理论有应用啊，甚至还有博物馆。虽然它的这个经费相对来说是最少的，但是它的研究机构是比较多的，个数比较多，也就是证明它就是很多都是小型化。比如说我们研究所可能就是一百左右，而我们旁边的环境这个研究所，它是赫尔姆霍斯底下的 UFZ 这个研究所呢，就环境研究所，它大概有1000多人，就是我们的10倍的一个体量。从这个研究这个所谓的研究的这个从基础研究到应用研究，以及从国家拨款和这种社会企业第三方这种资助的这个两个维度来大概考量的话，比如马普所呢，主要是靠国家来投资做基础研究，Fraunhofer 呢，它是专注于应用研究。呃，它的资金呢，很多就是来自于企业啊。霍尔姆霍斯和莱布尼茨呢，就是稍微中间一点这个莱布尼茨呢，基本上是属于中间的一部分，就既有基础研究，又有应用研究。它虽然多数这个投资呢是在国家 直接的拨款，它也有一些这个通过第三方资助的情况，包括从欧盟拿到项目资助的。因为我们这次这个学生呢，主要是来自于农口的一些学生呢，这我就是大概呃列出了一些跟农业相关的一些的研究所，对莱布尼茨协会呢，我相对比较熟悉一些。那么这里边有，比如说是 ATB，比如说有生物经济和农业工程，包括农机啊，生物经济、循环经济，啊，这方面的。研究呢，ATB 也是跟我们 DCZ 的中德农业中心呢有很多的合作。以前的比如说 Climate Talk 啊，还有一些访问呐、都有一些联系。ATB 是一个，IPK 是我们也是在亚某附近啊同一城市的一个研究所，做植物遗传和植物的一个研究所。比如说，如果你是做作物遗传啊。转基因方面的研究的，这个 IPK 呢是一个选择。CAF 呢我也比较熟悉，是农业景观研究的方面研究所。它是在柏林东面的一个小城做土地利用、景观、生态、水资源、气候适应变化这方面的很多。另外一个还有动物方面的 FBN。当然这个 YAMO 也是一个重要的一个研究所，我本身所在的YAMO 研究所。我已经在 YAMO 已经从08年到现在已经有17年了。呃，我们这研究所呢从事农业社会经济方面的研究，也就是说学农经方面的，或者是做农业环境、农业相关的呃全球变化方面的，我们也都比较欢迎的。呃 Helmholtz 和这个 McPlant 的也有相关的一些跟农业农学的相关的一些方向的或这个研究所。于里希研究中心，这个比较很大的一个研究所，那它还有一些比如说作物方面的研究。呃，刚才我提到的这个赫尔姆霍斯环境研究中心，跟国内有非常多的合作，也是比如说是他们有一个呃生物多样性。中国的一个研究项目呃，然后在土壤水资源管理这方面呢，也是跟我们农学有相关的。马普所呢，我相对不是特别熟悉，它可能对这个这两个所可能呃跟农业和这个 life science 这个生物这方面的，可能生物生态这方面的可能比较相关。啊，当然就是你可能要自己去搜索这是一个不完整的一个 list。当然，这个这些研究所工作呢，就是需要有一个资助，对吧？我们刚才 DAAD 还有这个霍恩海姆的 Muller 教授也都提到了，有一些就是一个 salary based position，就是说一个工作合同性质的呃一种职位，这种呢就是工资职位这种工资职位呢是最优选。刚才Muller 教授也特别提到了，因为他呢就是拿我们国内讲的话，它是包含了一个五险一金的性质的一个，它是一个工作位置，也就是相当于你拿到这个位置以后，呃就算是工资就是工作了。啊，它这个相对来说，就是税后呢，也跟这个一些其他的这个 scholarship 这种呃相当。除此之外，它还有包括了这种医疗失业退休金这些，所以说是最好的一种选择了。啊，比如说我们从亚目来讲的话，我们前2年从2021年，我们拿到一个德国教育科研部的一个项目，是关于中国农业数字化方面的研究的。那么我们在2021年、22年就招聘了2个学生，当然这个是全球招聘的，但是我们最终选择了还是2个中国学生，张华和俊哲2个。他们也是中国的研究生，然后正在我们央某进行学习了。 这是一个渠道。啊，这个现在比如说 CUF，我们刚才提到 CUF 了，你看它在网站上也招收一个，比如说一个博士生的职位，在 landscape genetics 这个基因方面的一个研究职位。如果跟你的相关呢，你就需要进行申请。那这个竞争呢，当然是全球竞争的。呃，当然你不一定的，你的研究呢，研究区域也不一定是对于中国的了。当然还有其他的一些研究的，就是资助的渠道，DAG 就是德意志学术与交流中心。刚才任老师也提到了，各种各样的资助项目，有短期的，有特定的研究资助的，也跟国内合作的和国内研究机构合作的一些各种各样的项目。啊、我是感觉呢，就是以前呢，就是可能20年前，就 DAG 是作为一个重要的研究的一个资助的一个机构。近年来，尤其这种全额奖学金的这种，就相对来就比较少一些。更多来说，我们中国学生呢出国留学的一个最大的一个可能性，就是国家留学基金委的一个。它包括两个，就是一个是公派读博的，一般是4年。德国的话3年几乎是很难拿到博士的，一般4年或者5年才能拿到。所以说一般情况下你要申请4年的这种读博的项目。关于联合培养呢，一般是1年到2年的一个情况，就是说你已经有了博士在读的学生。呃那你就是在博2或博3的时候出去跟德国的研究所进行合作，那么进行1年和2年的这种访问，然后回来再拿博士。啊。这个下面会再展开讲一下这国家留学基金委的这个资助的情况。当然还有一些就是说，研究所本身呢，它会有一些 fellowship，比如说我们亚某呢也有每年呢都有几个这个 fellowship，就是它有一个这种呃 fellow 的名额，也可以联系这可能。再就是国内大学，就是除了就是说，国家的就是中德国家方面的，还有德国研究所那方面的，就是说国内大学和研究机构呢也有相应的资助的可能。比如说浙江大学，它有飞鹰计划，它也资助金额呢也相当大，也跟留学基金委的资助力度相当。这也是可以考虑的。比如华中农业大学也有相关的一些资助的这个计划。这个就是因大学而异了。再就是如果是你有了博士学位，还有一些选择，比如说红宝基金，还有欧盟的玛丽居里项目这些都是可以的。那一般的是针对于有博士学位的，一般是 postdoc。呃，这个例外的是红宝的这个 Climate Protection Fellowship，这个呢是不要求有博士学位的。这个也可以了解一下。关于留学基金委，这个是一个主要的一个渠道。这些原则可能你们都可以了解了，就是个人申请、单位推荐、专家评审、择优录取。如何增加这个自己被批准概率呢？主要的一个，当然了是个人的素质和科研水平，这个是第一位的。啊。呃，这个当然你科研水平很高，也要争取到这个导师、学院和大学的这个支持和推荐。这个也是很重要，因为这个是这个这个条件之一。再又是另外一个，这个国家留学基金委看重的是这个高水平的研究机构和导师，就是国外研究机构，就是比如说你研究的这个合作导师呢是比较高水平的大学排名靠前的大学或者导师呢比较是知名的学者，那么也是加分项。当然，你的这个研究计划呢，也要进行可信可行，也是比较高水平。如果是这个研究计划的方向跟国家呃就是 强调的一些方向呢比较相似的，比如说我们的种子计划呀，还有这个强国强农计划，还有我们的农村振兴的这方向的，就乡村振兴方向的，这个可能也有些帮助啊。在这个语言方面呢，就是理论上呢，就是你在这个研究所呢，就是英语是一个通用的科研语言，所以不需要担心德语问题。就说如果你是硕士的话，你比如说在大学里的话，很多的你必须选择这个英文的这个项目，呃，这个可能因为德语呢非常难。在研究所呢，一般都是英文就足够了。当然，这个德语的话，会对你的日常生活会有帮助。在这方面呢，托福、雅思呢，并不是必要的。但是有这个的话呢，更有说服力。我们一般考察的话，会有不管你有没有这个托福、雅思的，一般我们都会有一个线上面试。呃，这是我们比较看重的，就是语言你必须有一个呃，就是必须要有一个交流能力。除此之外呢，就是说 CSE 的这种正规渠道之外呢，就是说就是留学基金委啊也资助一些大学或研究所啊，他们就是可以申请一些项目，这些项目呢就是说他们直接可以筛选自己所可以派出的人啊。也就是一个绿色通道，就是说这样的话，比如说，这里我显示的是一个华中农业大学的一个项目，就是创新型人才国际合作项目，还这是这个数字经济呃背景下的农业产业升级创新型人才项目啊。这种创新项目呢，就是说由大学来执行，那么他们就直接可以选派自己学校的人员。他就不再经过这个留学基金委的统一的评审的这个过程了所以说这是一个绿色通道。这个呢，如果是你可以了解一下你们大学有没有相关的这种项目。呃，其实亚某呢，除了华中农业大学，我们还跟西本农联科技大学，还有中国农科院资化所都有这种合作项目。我们每年都有接收相关的人员来访问。那就是给中国留学生呢申请呢，就是提些建议啊，就是首先就是找到合适的导师，这个是非常重要的。如何呃找到合适的导师呢？有一些渠道，比如说你参加一些国际会议，如果看到有些相关的跟你领域相关的一些导师呢，你可以在国际会议上就可以跟他攀谈套词啊，这个是很重要的。老师能够见过你，然后尤其听过你的学术报告，那这个是非常好的一个契机。以后你再联系的话就非常好。再有另外就是相关的领域的文章，还有你的导师推荐，包括一些合作伙伴，比如说你导师有一些合作伙伴在德国的，那他的推荐呢就是非常有用。当然，如果你是实在没有这些方式呢，你也可以就是从网络搜寻一些中国研究方向的，或者说跟你领域相关的一些研究学者啊。这是我们亚某，比如说我们这是亚某，我们有一个中国研究所。我们现在呃，这个研究组呢，大概有20几个人，有10几个来自于中国的学生学者啊。每年我们都有接收5到8个这个学生学者。关于套词这方面呢，也有一些这个简单的一些经验吧。时间关系，我就快速的过一下啊。呃，首先要切记的就是不要这个群发，用通用模板，一定要有针对性更不要这个同时联系同一研究所的多位教授我很多的时候收到了，就是说很多，比如说我们的其他教授收到了这个信，然后就转发给我说，哎，你看这个怎么样？有多位这个老师同时转发给同一个学生，这就非常不好啊。另外就是说，你肯定就是写这个 email 的时候一定要对这个导师他的研究有相当的了解， 也能够在邮件里指出你的研究方向跟老师的研究方向为什么是契合啊，也能在邮件里指出你的技能，比如说你的数理基础啊、语言啊、模型能力啊，这是非常重要的啊。也同时要保持一定灵活度，就是说，呃，也就是说你要说，就是说你可能你自己有一定的这个研究方向，但是你也可以表达，可以跟这个合作导师进行调整的可能啊。如果已经有发表的文章了，这个是非常强的一点啊，你也可以附上。但是 MDPI 或者 Frontier 这种 publisher 的这种呢，在当前的情况下呢，一般呢就是可能会是负分儿的情况，这个可以就注意一下。还有一些使用这些资源呢，呃，刚才呃这个 DIAD 的老师呢提供了一些比较好的一些资源了啊。这个我现在报告就到这样的，我希望还是大家能够有一些讨论，有一些问题啊，带着问题来讨论啊。我的报告到此为结束，谢谢。
谢谢谢谢宋博士，很充分，我觉得很具体的一些例子。那我再补充一下，或者我再问一下，有没有学生想提问题？我们孙博士他也可以用中文来回答，
对的。
可能大家都太害羞了吧，就不敢在陌生的环境中说，嗯。
对呀，如果是没有举手，可以直接在这个 chat 上面打字也可以，不露脸也可以的。
其实我们在这个 chat 里面有了一个问题，但是它就是集中于 postdoc，我也不知道您看到了吗？这个
啊
这个问
，postdoc。
题。对，I'm an
哦，这样。
international student in China pursuing a PhD at HVRI. Not
啊
quite sure
哈。
what institute this is. What are the chances of getting a postdoc offer in Germany and how to do it?
嗯，postdoc 呢，也是可以的，就是postdoc，我看他的名字有点像那个外国人，不像中国人。呃，
对，他是外国人，我
说一个，
感觉他是外国人，在中国学习啊。
对对。Okay,
嗯
so I'm responding to this question about the postdoc opportunities. So I'm just speaking English because the question is English. Yeah, um,
嗯
there are many opportunities in the research institute and also in the university for sure. For sure, and we also have this fellowship for postdoc. For example, YAML has the fellowship for postdoc. In addition, like Humboldt Stiftung or Humboldt Foundation, and those are the foundations actually mainly focus on the postdoc positions, and their criteria is excellency. This is the main criteria. If you have a very excellent research topic, you have a good record, and you have a higher chance there. In some of the project, you can also get these postdoc positions. For example, we have like the EU project. Those are the large project. In many in many cases, we also advertise the jobs on our website. So you can also keep that in mind.
mm,
Yes, there are opportunities.
yeah. In fact, this webinar was a bit tailored to master's and PhD students, but it's good to ask this question anyway. Oh, we have another one, I think, if I'm not mistaken. I would like to ask what steps are involved when applying for a PhD online interview. What aspects should I prepare? 我是中国学生，
嗯，
所以可以用
哈哈。
中文回答。嗯
啊。非常好啊！其实我每年都 interview 可能有20几个，或者是这样的学生，因为我们研究所因为有个中国研究小组嘛，所以说我们的收到的申请也非常多。但是我们的受限于我们的呃这个限制吧，就说比如说你看我们后面这是我们研究所只有一栋小楼。我们只有100个人，我们不可能有很多的空间。 我们大概有10个左右的学生，可能已经中国来的学生已经很多了，就是我们不可能很多，所以说我们在interview 的我们看中的几点啊，一是我们的语言能力，这是一个考察，为什么要考察？所以说你一定要有一个做好准备。我们一般会让你介绍一下你的研究或者自己的情况。最好呢，你要准备一个 PPT 啊，这样的 PPT 啊对你也有好处的，因为你可以帮助你这个条理化你的研究和这个 precision 啊，这个是比较好的一个呃方式，这对于你和对我们来说可能都会比较好一些啊。然后再就是你要强调一下，就是你来研究，就合作研究也罢，或者读博士也罢，你要有什么的想法啊，就展示你自己的这个研究方法的一个掌握。呃，这一点呢，就是说我们看重的几点，一个是语言能力，还有一个就是你自己的科研能力。这科研能力包括以方法能力，包括我们比如说我们做农经的话，你的这个econometrics 这方面的能力就很高了。如果是做一些自然科学的，比如说实验的这些经历啊，这都是一些。然后当然是这个 topic fit，topic fit 呢，一般我们在 future 的时候已经做好了这些。嗯，再就是你要表现一些自信啊，这个也是很重要的，就是交流的一个能力啊。嗯，再就是我在想呢，还有一点需要注意的是什么？我想想啊，当然突然一下子忘记了。嗯，哦，对了，就是这个 technical 的这个问题啊，一定要提前测试好几遍啊，这可能还有备用方案，因为你看这个尤其这个国际的这个 interview，好多的时候会有一些 technical 的这个问题，所以一定要提前准备，也有一个备选方案啊，就这些。
好，谢谢。学生也说谢谢老师。
啊，谢谢
Thank you.
啊，
Okay. Okay, I think I would also like to thank Dr. Sun again. I think it was a very useful presentation, hopefully also very useful for our students here in the webinar. And last but not least, we have another German Chinese scholar, Professor Ren Yanjun. And I believe Dr. Sun and Professor Ren are actually, you probably know each other because Professor Ren studied in Germany first, I think in Kiel, if I'm not mistaken, Kiel University, and then he came to IAMO, the same institute that Dr. Sun is from. And he will now also talk to you, to everybody, to us, and explain his experiences in Germany. And unlike Dr. Sun, he came back to China and then he continued his career in China. So it's a slightly different angle. Welcome, Professor Ren, and thank you, Dr. Sun. 谢谢。
Thank you very much, Michelle, for your very kind introduction. Can you see my slides?
Not yet, but I think it's loading. Ah, yeah, here we go. Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, many thanks again for giving me this opportunity. Okay, sorry, it seems my presentation will be in Chinese, right? But first, I
Yes,
would
and
like
you,
to show my thanks again. Okay,
but
非常感谢
Professor
啊。
Ren, excuse me, your presentation is in presenter's mode. We kind of see your screen.
Okay,
I think there is
okay.
a different mode. Wait,
Now should it
yeah,
be better?
it's better. Yes.
Okay,
嗯哼，
great. So I switch to Chinese.
好，
好的，好
可以的。
的，非常感谢啊，能有这样一个机会来跟大家做这样一个分享。刚刚呢，孙老师其实已经讲得非常详细了，因为孙老师也是我之前在德国的同事。刚才呢，其实也有一个简单的介绍，我是在德国读的博士，然后后面也在那边做博士后以及做科研，一共呢待了大概有9年，9年07个月吧。所以今天是更多时候跟大家做一个交流啊。就是我在德国期间的一些经验，还有是我在申请 PhD 的时候，当时做的一些工作吧。主要包括以下这几个方面啊，一个是德国留学申请，其实今天下午的几位 老师还有专家从各个层面都非常详细的介绍了德国留学申请，所以这一块我可能更多的很快过一下。重点是放在这个德国博士的一个研究上，来给大家介绍一下德国的这个博士研究和国内有哪些方面的一些区别，或者说我们在德国来读博士的时候，我们需要注意哪些方面的一个问题。最后呢是简单介绍一下这个德国博士后的一个申请。首先是德国留学申请，当然这一张图是我原来博士期间所在的城市基尔大学，也是非常漂亮。在介绍博士申请之前呢，我觉得需要就是跟大家简单介绍一下这个德国博士和中国博士，它是有严格意义上的一个区别的啊。一个是德国的这个博士教育，它是具有非常鲜明的一个特色，尤其是在身份的一种认同上，跟中国是不一样的。中国更多时候我们强调的是一个博士生，更多时候是一个学生就是说我们经常说是一个 student。但是在德国其实不太像是这样啊。德国我们经常这个博士学位或者博士这样一个 position，它更多是一种 half position，就是说你是以半职的这样一个科研人员进入到了这个科研人员的序列，所以它并非一个纯粹的学术教育阶段。这也是我们会发现，在德国的时候，我们经常叫这个博士的时候，跟国外还是不太一样的。跟国内还是不太一样的，尤其是跟欧美国家也是不太一样。比如说，在美国，你是必须要经过第一年和第二年修学分之后，到第三年呢达到一定的标准才叫这个 Doctor Candidate。其实，在德国，很多时候博士是没有相关的课程，后面我会给大家再进行详细介绍啊。所以这是从身份上来讲，德国的博士和国内是完全不同的。再一个，这个德国博士学习的这两种形式，这也是跟国内不太一样啊。因为我们国内的一个招生经常是统一来招生，现在985高校的话，一般都是申请审核制，就是说你申请之后呢，通过一个我们一般会有一个笔试的环节，还有一个面试的环节，再统一招生，是这么来做的。但是在国外其实是不一样的，尤其是德国来看的话，一般有两种形式。其实刚才有老师也提到啊。一个是个人制的这样一种博士学习，我们叫的 individual doctorate，所以它很多时候呢就是自主权是比较大的，然后研究的选题啊、工作安排以及进度的控制都很自由，没有统一的课程和教学计划。其实这两种这个博士项目下啊，都是没有一个固定的课程，也就是说在德国博士是不用去上课的。当然，你要修什么课，这是你可以自主去选择。后面我会讲一下，在我们农业经济领域，我们会有这样的一些课程的设计，但是有很多学校是不必须的啊。这是第一种，所以第一种情况下的话，更多时候靠的是我们博士生的高度自律，还有你自己要划定你的一个毕业的时间线，在每一个时间节点上去完成什么样的一些任务。这个呢是在德国当前来讲，或者说在我经历的这个阶段来讲的话，更多时候我们所占的这个比例是非常大，就是个人制的这种博士是比较大的啊。第二种呢，我们叫的 structured PhD program， 我们中文翻译叫结构化博士项目啊。其实我有的时候我更愿意把它翻译成这种项目制的这种博士。什么意思呢？就是说你进来的时候是一个项目给你发工资，是以项目的形式把你招到了这个课题组。那这样的话，你在整个过程当中，你为了配合项目的完成，你可能需要做一些课程培训，可能需要做一些学术研讨以及这个技能呀，或者国际学术的一些交流。就是它更多时候是为了完成这个项目，而在完成项目同时呢，你拿到了一个 PhD，所以这两个是有本质上的一个区别啊。这是一个方面。第二个方面呢，基于对博士这样一种身份的这个认同之后呢，我们会发现这个德国的这个博士申请流程，它也跟国内也是有区别的。国内我就不做过多赘述。这个德国的话，主要包括这几个方面，一个是准备申请材料，其实这个刚才孙老师已经讲过了，一个是你的 CV 啊，或者你的这个成绩啊，尤其是这个语言的认证。现在德国的话，一般来讲，雅思考到6.5左右，德国绝大多数高校应该都没有太大问题。有一些高校对这个硕士的这个 语言要求是非常高的，反倒对博士的要求可能没有那么高。很多时候呢，如果你的接收单位或者你所申请这位导师，他给你开具一个语言证明，这种情况下，我们在申请一些奖学金的时候就可以拿它去用啊。后面我也会提到。另外一个呢，就是我们所说的这个研究计划，研究计划它也是非常重要的，尤其是在国外，可能跟国内一个最大的区别就是，国外老师更看重的是你研究的一个持续性，或者说你研究的这个整个研究方向它的同质性。而在国内的话，更多时候我们在拿到一些博士申请材料的时候，我们可能更多时候去看发表，但是国外发表也重要，但是发表没有那么重要。所以在写你的 research proposal，在准备你的 CV 的时候，一定要看一下导师的研究方向到底在哪儿，使你的整个材料的准备与导师的研究方向能够高度契合。这是第一个方面。第二个方面是选择德国的大学和导师啊。这个就是我们当时在申请的时候，我们西北农林是有严格的要求的，必须是在这个前200这个全球 QS 全球排名前200的高校，他们才会给我们派出。当然现在这个适度放宽了啊，就是比如说 CSC 的申请，现在适度放宽，就是说对这个 QS 它可能没有过多的要求，但是刚才孙老师也强调了。你所申请的国外高校的这个 reputation， 就是它在行业当中的这个名誉，这个也是非常重要的。有一些 program 它是有相关的要求，比如说 QS 排名前100啊、前200啊，有的是没有要求。那这一块德国的大学就比较吃亏啊，这个我们要正确看待这件事情。这块我列出来了，德国大学现在来看的话，QS 排名是比较低的啊，相较于美国来讲。但是我想说的是。德国的大学，我们很多时候在德国内部来看的话，我们不看排名，因为德国排在后面的再不好的一个大学，它会有非常好的这个专业，好到什么程度呢？好到它可能就在全球排名第一。所以在博士阶段，我觉得大家更看重的应该是你所选取的这个专业，它在这个全球的定位是什么样，在德国的定位是什么？这个简单说一下。接下来是关于这个套词性的一个书写，相信大家对这一块可能比较了解啊。还有这个怎么去面试，刚才孙老师也讲了一些相关的内容，我就不说了。最终呢，可以拿到这样导师的一个邀请函，在这个邀请函发过来之后呢，我们用它可以去申请签证，办理这个就是等签证拿下来之后，再到校去注册。整个流程上来讲的话，可能就是这些环节。这个是个人项目，相对来说的话稍微复杂一点。当然，如果你有一些奖学金的话，后面我会提到，可能稍微会简单一点。对于奖学金来讲的话，当前有这些奖学金啊，我给大家列了几个供你们参考啊。一方面呢是中方提供的，就是我们国家留学基金委，就是我们经常所说的这个 CIC 的奖学金。CIC 的奖学金包括这几个方面，一个是国家建设高水平公派研究生项目，这个就是我们现在最常申请的，因为在最开始的时候，这个项目只针对985高校，当前的话它是放开的，所有高校都可以申请。它同时呢也没有要求说必须是应届生还是什么，但是对于往届生来讲的话，你的材料是不能交到高校的话，这个时候呢，你需要交到当地的这个教育局或者教育厅，他们可以把你的材料上交到这个 CSA。所以呢，绝大多数我们都是依托这样一个，或者个人项目的话，是依托国家建设高水平的公派研究生的这样一个项目。第二个方面呢是创新人才国际合作项目，像孙老师刚才提到的一些学校，比如说这个华中农啊，他刚才也讲了，这些学校有这样的一些项目。还有这个乡村振兴人才培养专项，这个人才培养专项的话，里边有联合培养，有博士生攻读学位这样的一种情况，这也是我们 CIC 的一个专项。另外一个呢，也是当前也比较多的这个国别和区域人才支持计划，这也是我们团队当前往德国输送的这个人才比较多的。它也是主要是，比如说它区域国别，我们主要针对的是德国。那它会有规定，你在3年之内派多少人。对于这些专项来讲的话，它有一个好处，就是说我们在校级单位进行一个审核和筛选之后，我们直接提交 CIC， 大概率他就能够获批。迄今为止，我们还没有，就是我们提交了没有被获批的啊。但是对于国家建设高水平大学的这个公派项目来讲的话，近几年的情况来看，个人项目它的这个通过率还是非常非常低的。所以更多时候，我建议大家可以去看一下你们所在的单位或者所在的高校是否有这样一些合作项目，基于这些合作项目去进行申请，可能会成功的概率会大一点啊。接下来是注意的一个事项，比如说这些项目可能在不同的时间节点，它对不同的学科要求，比如说这个乡村振兴人才培养专项，它更多时候要求的是你所做的这个专业，或者说你所做的这个领域，可能是要跟这个乡村振兴是要高度相关的。再一个是不同的接收单位，像我刚才跟大家讲的，有一些它可能是当地的教育厅，有一些呢可能是你所在的高校，它就有资格去进行申报。再一个呢，对于这些项目，尤其是国家建设高水平大学的这个项目，还有这个国家留学基金委的其他项目，有一些项目它是可以资助你本身已经在国外，比如说你是自费的这样一些留学生，你已经在德国之后，你再去申请国家留学基金委的项目，这个的资助率还是挺高的啊。所以不是说只能在国内去申请国外，你也可以先自费过去，过去之后呢，再申请国家留学基金委的项目，然后去可以拿到这样的一个奖学金来支持你在国外留学。DRD 这个我不讲了啊，因为我们今天刚好也有 DRD 的相关的这个人员，刚才给大家已经讲过了。再一个呢，就是这样的一些校级的这个奖学金，还有这个项目的奖学金，比如说我们西北农林科技大学就跟德国这个吉森大学啊、慕尼黑工大有一些合作。同时呢，我们就是我回来之后，我们建立了中德农业实务经研究中心，我们也有一些项目可以支持我们的学生去到德国莱布尼兹研究所去进行短期的一个交流和访问。大家可以关注一下你所在的高校跟德方这边有哪些项目。第二方面呢是这个德国的一个博士研究，这一块我重点讲一下啊。首先是这个培养模式的一个区别，这一块我觉得是非常非常不一样的啊。德国的博士更注重的是独立研究和创新能力，所以它的培养模式比较灵活。就像我刚才讲的，它没有固定的课程，就是说它不需要上课的。而在中国当前来讲的话，博士生还有1年的课程需要去修，达到学分之后，美国也是一样啊，修完学分之后，这个时候呢，你才可以去开展你的这个博士研究。而博士研究呢，我们也是成体系的，比如说你需要开题。开题答辩通过之后，需要中期通过之后呢，再进行这个博士的一个答辩。那在德国当前来讲的话，它没有一个固定的一个范式，所以导师的指导也更为个性化。另外一个呢，国内的博士通常更加注重这个课程，尤其是第1年是完全来上课的啊，学术性质较为传统，更多时候注重这个项目的一个申请和论文的一个发表，尤其是在毕业的时候。我们很多高校都是有论文发表的，必须发表几篇文章。但是在德国当前来讲的话，很多高校没有规定啊，就是没有明文规定说你必须发表几篇文章。当然，大家会问我说，那没有规定，那我怎么就博士毕业呢？所以更多时候是导师负责制，导师来把关。导师认为你可以达到毕业条件的，即使没有论文发表，你依然可以毕业啊。当然了。这个德国的导师对毕业论文的把关，它的一个严格程度不亚于你有论文发表啊。第二个方面呢是这个研究环境的一个区别，就这块我就简单讲一下啊，就是在德国的话，这个国际化水平的话，我觉得在全球来看，我觉得都是非常高的，这样的话给我们提供了很多这个交流的一个平台啊。再一个就是学习年限的一个区别，德国的博士学制非常灵活。我在的基尔大学来看的话，它没有一个固定的要求。像我知道的，我有同事他可能读了7年，还有读8年的。当然，大家不要担心哦，平均来看的话，德国毕业时间是在4.5年。当然，这个是我也参考这个当前的也是2021年发表一篇文章讲的这个时间啊。当然，这个也是有这个学科专业的这个差异。另外呢，国内的这个博士学制是相对固定的，一般来讲4年。然后呢，你 要延期。像我们西北农林来看的话，这个是教育部规定的啊，最长延2年，2年之后不毕业是要清退的啊。但是德国来看的话，这一块没有一个具体的一个要求。OK。再来是这个科研与学分啊，这个刚刚讲了，学制通常为3到5年，但是呢，这个传统侧重于主要科研，无需这个课程上的一个，就是不需要去修学分，这个刚才讲过了。然后这个结构化的，比如说这个项目制的这些博士，可能需要参加一些集体活动，比如说参加一些项目的一些活动，同时呢，他可能在项目完成过程当中需要完成相应的一些课程，修相应的学分。而对这个产业博士来讲的话，它也是项目支持，但是它更多是以产业导向的，它可能需要开展一些应用性研究。第二个方面，第四个方面呢是这个博士论文的一个要求啊，核心的要求就是它要具备创新性，对所在的学科要有一定的贡献，并且呢，它要符合学校的这个相应的一个范式。当然这一块我想重点强调这2个方面啊，就是它当前来讲的话有2种形式，一种我们叫的这个专注，这个就跟国内的这个博士是一样的，就是说我们有一个理论基础，有实证分析，有政策建议这一系列，就是它是成体系的，就跟一本书一样，就是我们毕业以后这个博士论文是可发表的。另外一种呢，这个国内当前来讲我们还没有这种形式，但是德国现在有这种形式，就是什么我们叫这个论文集。比如说，你可以把3篇小论文合成一个大论文，然后再写一个 introduction 部分，再写一个conclusion 部分。这样的话，你博士论文的话就是5章内容，以论文集的形式。所以对于我们国际学生来讲的话，我知道的我们好多同学都是以这个论文集的形式。这样的话，我既有论文发表，然后又能形成一个博士论文。最后呢，还是我刚才强调的，它没有一个具体的一个发表要求。再一个是答辩与发表啊，通常来讲的话，我们国内要进行这个口头答辩的时候，导师是要回避的，就是导师是不允许参加你的这个答辩的。然后在德国来讲，答辩委员会主席就是你的导师，就是导师不需要回避，导师也是你答辩的时候论文送评审的其中的一个评审，而这个答辩的这个时长呢，也是比国内长太多啊。像我们在基尔大学，我的汇报只有15分钟，答辩是1个半小时。一般来讲，对国际学生，我们可以用英文来进行答辩。这一块我就不做过多阐释了啊。这一块我强调一下，比如说在这个德国，在农业经济领域啊，我们一般会有这样一个农业经济领域的一个 Doctor 的一个 Program 的一个认证。就是说，你可以在全德国，像我列在右边这一块，就是全德国开设农林高校的这些单位或者研究所，这个孙正丽老师他在其中也开了一门课啊，就是他的这些课程我们可以全德国去上课，然后修相应的学分。有一些高校，比如说我们莱布尼兹研究所，它现在已经把这个作为必修，你应该达到相应的学分。但是基尔大学现在来讲的话，还没有要求我们必须达到一个学分才能去进行这个博士答辩啊。这一块给大家说一下。另外一个就是通过这个 Research in Germany， 刚才有很多这个老师已经提到了啊，我们可以发现很多的这样一些博士的一个职位的一个资源。就简单看一下。第3个方面呢，就是博士后的一个申请。博士后申请当前来讲的话，有这些渠道啊，一个是奖学金项目的一些渠道，比如说这个 CSA 与 DRD 的一些博士后的一些奖学金。这个 DRD 我们今天也有相应的专家在，我就不做过多的阐释了。但大家要注意的是，它可能会有一系列的要求，比如说已经获得了 CSA 的资助，它可能就不能再去申请这样的一个奖学金。再一个呢，就是红宝基金会的一个奖学金，就是红宝学者啊，大家经常会听到有一些专家他在写自己这个研究背景的时候，他说自己是红宝学者，就是红宝基金会它并不仅仅是一个奖学金，同时呢，它也是一种 title。就是这个奖学金的话，它的支持力度也是非常大的。另外呢，这个奖学金支持的这些专家，他在全球来讲的话，他的声誉也是非常非常高的。这个大家看一下。 此外呢，它也有一些注意的事项，比如说超除博士学位获得的时限一般不能超过4年。另外呢，它不符合德国境外的这个境外居留的一个要求，它可能也是不能去申请这个奖学金的。我们简单看一下就可以了啊，这个我不说了。此外呢，还有一些别的一些科研项目的一些渠道，比如说你如果是在德国已经拿到了博士学位，或者说你在欧洲其他国家拿到了博士学位，这个时候呢，我们可以去申请这样的一些中德合作项目，或者我们可以去申请这个中欧合作项目，基于这些中欧合作项目和中德合作项目，这样的一个项目支持，来在德国进行这个博士后的一个研究。像我这一块列的一些国家自然基金委，还有对，这个一个是国家自然基金委跟德国的一个联合合作项目，另外是个跟欧洲研究理事会的一些研究合作项目，因为它的一些合作项目是德方和中方要同时提交材料，这样的话可以支持我们中方的这个学者去德方去进行相应的科学研究。再一个是 DFG，就是德国自然基金会，自然基金，就跟我们中国的国家自然科学基金差不多是一个水平的。对于这个基金的话，它会有设置一些临时的 PI 的一些项目，一般可以支持这样一些博士后研究，比如说1到3年的这样一些项目，还是非常多的，而且它资助率也是非常高啊。另外还有一些德国州政府的一些项目。也可以进行这个去，对于我们留学生来讲的话，也可以去申请。还有一个是德国联邦教育部这个 BMBF 的一些项目，它也可以支持一些博士后的一个研究。还有一些就是个大众基金会的这个相关的项目，也可以支持我们来进行一系列的博士后的研究。由于时间关系啊，我可能就讲这么多。我觉得更多时候可能是跟大家的这个交流讨论。大家有什么问题的话，我们来再进行一系列的交流和探讨。好，我的报告就到这儿，再次感谢邀请啊。
哎，谢谢任教授，非常的精彩，有很多的细节我也了解了很多啊。我再一次问一下，你们这个所在的这个学生有没有问题？因为现在有机会可以直接跟这位老师说一说，这个会如果有具体的问题呢，可以得具体的答案。有没有还有问题的学生想说？Oh, I think I see a question. 也是中国学生 when applying for a doctorate, are there any requirements for publication? 我觉得任教授刚才提到了，但是您可以再补充一下。
好的，他是中国学生，那我就用中文啊。OK，
对对对，可
非
以。
常好的一个问题啊，就像我刚才讲的啊，呃，如果对于中国学生在硕士期间你的发表如果是英文发表，那是非常好的，就是说你是发表在这种 well known 的这种 journal 上，像孙张丽老师刚才也提到了，如果发在这种 MDP 啊、Frontiers 啊，发在这些期刊上，我建议提还不如不提啊。你不提的话，大家可能认为你有一定的科研潜力。如果提了这些情况的话，我们可能会认为，你是比较投机的去投这些 OA 的这些，就尤其是这个发表水平比较一般的啊。就我刚才讲的，其实在德国教授们的这个眼中来看的话，他更多时候看重你在读硕士期间你研究的一个可持续性。就是你之前在硕士，比如说你的硕士毕业论文做的这个话题，跟你博士期间你写的这个 research proposal，它的一个相关性有多大？还有你的这个科研潜力到底在哪儿？另外呢，它重点看的是它能从哪些方面去指导你。我觉得这可能是他们看重的。对发表，我觉得是看重，但是像我刚才讲的，更多时候如果能发在这些好一点的期刊上，我非常建议大家把这些重点去突出，他们也会很关注这些方面的信息。但是如果不是特别好的期刊啊，我建议不要把它过度的去强调，而过度应该去强调你的研究话题或者说你的研究方向跟这个导师是高度契合的，这个导师确确实实能够在很多方面对你进行指导，我觉得可能比这个发表更重要，供你参考啊。
嗯。 别的老师能有没有补充的？还是
嗯，因为从德国来看的话，当前德国的硕士毕业都很少有发表的，
同意
对吧？
任老师说的啊，当然是有这个发表的，最好了。当然，这个其他的一些，比如说参加过国际会议或者一些其他的关于英文交流的，能证实你的英文水平的，也是非常重要的。
嗯，
有高
好的。
水平的论文，当然是最好的。
对。
嗯那好的，我觉得我们就今天就到这里吧。So let me switch back to English in our bilingual format. I would like to thank once again all the speakers for sharing your very interesting insights. I'm very grateful that you could join today. I think it was also very interesting to see that comparison, people that have studied in Germany but also know the Chinese environment very well. And I hope it was also interesting for all the students online. We will strive to share the presentations. There was a request to share the last presentation in English as well. I think, Professor Ren, we can take that on. If you just share the Chinese with us, then that's good, and we will facilitate the translation. Yeah, once again, thanks to all of you. We will leave this link on now because in 20 minutes we will have a reverse seminar for German students interested in China. But to those of you who came for the first part of the seminar, goodbye, good afternoon, good evening, and enjoy the Christmas spirit if you happen to be in Germany. And hope to see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
拜
OK，
Thanks a
拜
lot.
拜，
拜，
拜拜，
嗯，拜拜，再见，谢谢大
再
家，
再见。
见，
Thank you. Bye bye.
wieder
拜拜，
见。
Wiedersehen.